All right, welcome back. Let's bring in our panel right now. With us here in studio this week, we have former state party chair for the Indiana Democrats, Robin Winston, 2016 vice chair for the Indiana Trump campaign, Tony Samuel, along with former state lawmaker Mike Murphy and UIndy political science professor Dr. Laura Wilson. Great to have you all with us. Laura, I'll start with you. A contentious week on the campaign trail. The former president's controversial comments about Vice President Harris and her racial identity amidst some very quickly changing poll numbers. Are you surprised at how quickly the dynamics of this race have changed here these last 2 weeks?
I'm not surprised, because when you're replacing Joe Biden with Kamala Harris, you're talking about a major change in terms of candidates. They're both Democrats. Obviously, they both serve in the administration right now. But I think you see a lot of momentum right now behind Harris. That will eventually wear off. Newsweek gave out 7 different polls and cited her as the lead, although many within margin of error. And also noted, Nate Silver said, it looks like right now Kamala Harris would win with the popular vote, but Donald Trump would still win with the Electoral College vote. So the fact that it's a very close race and obviously a tremendous amount of money, I don't think is necessarily surprising. What'll be interesting to see is after the DNC, whether or not this momentum stays, what the candidates do, how the Republicans really react to Harris at the top. I think those are the things we're looking at.
And Mike, we've seen this change at the top of the Democratic ticket, and a running mate will soon be named there as well. But there have also been some questions about whether Republicans might even try to make a change on their ticket amidst some of J.D. Vance's struggles here early on. How do you see these next few days playing out?
Well, I think J.D. Vance has had a rough first couple of weeks. Nobody would want to start their candidacy the way he has started it. He's made some major errors, but nothing compared to what Trump has done every day for the last 8 or 10 years, right? And so none of that stuff is going to stick. The bottom line is, when there's 30 days to go, they're going to figure out how much money they have left, and it's going to be a race to the finish. So I don't think anybody's committed any fatal mistakes yet.
Tony, what's your response to that? How will the Trump campaign try to counter some of the enthusiasm that seems to be mounting on the other side with a new running mate and their convention right around the corner?
Yeah, and remember, in politics, you don't want to peak too soon. I think Kamala Harris has peaked with the announcement. And again, as I said last week, the numbers reflect that the Democrats wanted to get rid of Joe Biden so badly. So now they've latched on to Kamala. She was the natural selection, being the VP. But once this kind of honeymoon phase wears off, and folks realize what her record is, what she has to say. She hasn't done any press conferences yet. She's going to be really vulnerable to the policy attacks that will come. And there's plenty of gaffes of her own that are out there. And now she's switching positions on so many things, on the border, on combating crime. It's going to catch up with her. And then the latest polling from the New York Post shows, or Washington Post shows, that Trump is still ahead in 5 of those 7 battleground states.
Robin, I want to get your response to that and also get a sense of what you're watching for here as the vice president's pick for a running mate gears up this weekend. A lot of buzz around Governor Shapiro, even as Secretary Buttigieg comes here to the Great Lakes region this week. Where do you see all of that headed with the Veep stakes here this weekend?
Well, let's first talk about what Tony just said. This campaign is going to be a brawl. I mean, anybody that thinks it's over with is wrong. It's going to be long. It's going to be a marathon. It's like Mike said. We're very early in the stages.
A shorter
it's
marathon
like you
than
said.
normal.
Yeah, but I know, but it's an accordion marathon. I mean, the bottom line is it's going to be very, very tight. We're going to be up late election night, I believe, but there are a lot of nuances. Now, I'm still waiting for the money from Mexico on that border wall. But as far as vice president goes, I think that you probably are going to see Shapiro in the lead right now. I can tell you that there are other people that are right there, and some people have some very busy hours.
It seems like they all have a busy weekend.
They all have, and people are changing schedules so they can be close to
his plans too.
Philadelphia's airport will be very busy.
It sure will be. All right, Tony, let's talk about the race for governor here in Indiana as well, because we've seen quite a discussion this week around the issue of property taxes with the Braun campaign and Donald Rainwater really going back and forth on that issue. How important will that topic be to voters this year?
Well, I think what's important is that Mike Braun has shown leadership. This was discussed a little bit by some of the candidates in the Republican primary, but now, at the right time, when people are paying attention now to the governor's race, he's come out with the issue that I think registers most with voters, because they've been hit hard by inflation under Joe Biden. And so his plan to cap property taxes, to increase the homestead deduction, and to draw more transparency and more voter participation in the referendum. All of that's going to register with voters. Now, he knows that he's got to work with the General Assembly. It's a long process, and Speaker Houston has weighed in that there'll be a lot of work to be done still.
We'll see how it plays out. You saw an interview there with Donald Rainwater earlier. Mike, are Republicans concerned that he may split some of the conservative vote again this year?
If it were going to be a close vote, yes, because the Libertarian Party is a legit party here in the state of Indiana now. But Braun is going to be so far ahead, Rainwater's percentages are really not going to matter that much. I mean, he'll make a 5%, 6%, 8% dent or whatever it is, but it's not going to endanger Braun at all.
Robin, quickly, how do you see this race playing out amidst this discussion about taxes?
Well, I think that if you talk to Terry Gooden, who's a farmer, he would tell you that farmers are very upset about property taxes. The missing thing in this is not the taxes, it's the assessment. You can cap the taxes, but if the assessments go through the roof, then that really isn't a tax cut for most people.
Okay.
That's a big issue in rural Indiana. We have the right candidate for lieutenant governor to address it.
All right, finally, another item in the news this week dealing with education and some pretty shocking statements from the president of Purdue saying the currently proposed new diploma standards would mean in-state students wouldn't be able to get into Purdue and maybe other schools too. And Laura, that seems like a pretty big problem here that lawmakers will need to figure out before actually crafting this in its final form.
And you're talking about a really well-written letter from one of the leaders of higher education, not just in the state of Indiana, but nationally, right? It does seem like these proposals probably won't be the end of the conversation. Obviously, we want our students to be able to have a lot of different opportunities after high school, whether or not it's going on to higher education or other forms. But if they're getting an Indiana diploma and they think they want to go to college and all of a sudden they're no longer well prepared to, that would be a concern. So I suspect we'll see a lot of changes in those proposals soon.
We'll see what happens there. All right, coming up next, a look at some of the Hoosiers making us proud at the Olympics in Paris. Stick around, we'll be right back.